Good evening, everybody. We are just waiting for two of our dignitaries to join in as well. As soon as they join, we will start off.
Good evening, sir.
Hello, good evening. what is the strength of this workshop? How many are there?
Around 2,000 registrations are there.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And we have a YouTube live also.
Okay.
Some of the faculty members are comfortable with that because Cisco WebEx is heavy for them. So the
Okay.
bandwidth and comparatively high.
Oh,
Sir, Professor Suresh Mony from Bangalore is our guest today. Yeah.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
hello, good evening.
Was earlier with Nirmala University. Is the former director there in Bangalore.
Okay. Nice to meet you, sir.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
For Rajan Varghese, sir, I think he'll join immediately.
Good evening, all of you.
Good evening.
Shall we start then, sir? Shall we start, sir?
Sir is also there. Sir, can you make Jayashankar sir co-host? Can you make Jayashankar sir co-host, please?
He is a co-host, sir.
Jayashankar sir, good evening. Gurukkal sir, can we start? Rajan sir will join, I think. He told me that he will be joining.
We can start.
Okay, okay, sir.
All right, okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for registering and attending this 7-day online faculty development program on outcome-based education, OBE. This is being organized by the Internal Quality Assurance IQAC of Nirmala College, Muvattupuzha, in association with the Kerala State Higher Education Council. We would like to welcome Dr. Rajan Gurukkal, Vice Chairman, KSHEC, Dr. Rajan Varghese, Member Secretary, KSHEC, Dr. Suresh Mony, Advisor, Higher Education Institutions, Leadership Coach, and a member, PanIIT Council, Reverend Dr. Msgr, Pius, Malekandathil, Manager, Nirmala College, Dr. Thomas K.V., Principal, Nirmala College, Sri Manuel A.J., Vice Principal, Nirmala College, Reverend Dr. Justin Kannadin, Bursar, Nirmala College, Dr. Sony Kuriakose, IQSC Coordinator, Nirmala College. Dr. Mendus Jacob, Director, PG Department of Computer Applications of Marine College, Kuttikanam, Autonomous. And all the FTP resource persons, managers, directors, principals, vice principals, representatives from management, HODs, IQAC coordinators, and all faculty members. Now, about this FTP is a 7-day program with live sessions at the same timing of 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. In case you are not able to attend any of the live sessions, the recordings will be available in the LMS for the paid participants. All the participants who have paid the processing fee will receive the LMS access and the video recording for all days and also participation certificate. If any of you are yet to make the payment, please make the payment of rupees 300 to Nirmala College to the account details that I will shortly put in the chat. LMS got hands-on activities that are to be completed along with the FTP. Now, my name is 𝐬𝐳𝐞 𝐖𝐞𝐤. I'm working as Global Relations Manager with IPSR Solutions Limited, and I will be the event moderator. Now, coming on to the introductions, the Kerala State Higher Education Council, KSHEC. The Kerala State Higher Education Council is the principal higher education policy input provider and trendsetter of the state of Kerala, and it strives to bring about equity and excellence in the higher education sector. The council is an apex level statutory body instituted under the Kerala State Higher Education Council Act 2007 and the Kerala State Higher Education Council Amendment Act 2018 of the State Legislature of Kerala. Pursuing its democratic stature and participatory approach in making decisions, the council is often denominated as a mandated working collective of all the stakeholders of the higher education sector, including academics, administrators, and students. Now, coming up on to the introduction for Nirmala College. Nirmala College, Muvattupuzha is a first-grade college which was established in 1953 and has completed 70 years of glorious service to the cause of higher education. The college is managed by the Catholic Diocese of Kodamanglam and treads on to conquer new heights in the path of academic excellence. The college is re-accredited by NAC with A++ grade with CGPA 3.73 in 2021. The college offers 17 undergraduate programs, 14 postgraduate programs, and 1 integrated postgraduate program. In addition to this, the college also offers PhD programs in 7 disciplines. The college is affiliated to Mahatma Gandhi University, Kottayam. Now, if it is possible, could you all turn on your videos as we would like to take a screenshot for our documentation purposes. Just keep it on for a few seconds, maybe 5 or 10 seconds. Thank you. Yes, just leave it on for a few seconds, then you can turn it off. All right. Moving on to the first session, we will first have the welcome speech. The welcome speech will be delivered by Dr. Thomas K.V., who is the principal of Nirmala College. Professor Thomas K.V. is the principal of Nirmala College, Ernakulam. He is a professor of mathematics and has 24 years of teaching experience. His qualifications include PhD from University of Delhi and MSc from St. Stephen's College, University of Delhi. He is an approved research guide at Mahatma Gandhi University, Kerala, and has produced 5 PhDs. He has published 33 research papers in national and international journals. He has served as a Senate member of Mahatma Gandhi University, Kottayam, Kerala during 2022 to 2022. Over to you, sir.
Most respected Dr. Rajan Gurukkal, Vice Chairman of Kerala State Higher Education Council, President of the function, Dr. Rajan Varghese, Member Secretary of Kerala State Higher Education Council, Keynote speaker, Dr. Suresh Mony, advisor of higher education institutions. Our manager, Right Monsignor Dr. Pius Malekandathil. Today's resource person, Dr.Mendus Jacob, College Vice Principal, Professor 𝐂𝐲𝐫𝐬𝐴𝐻𝐿. Our bursar, Reverend Dr. Kannadan. IQC Coordinator, Dr. Sony Kuriakos. Principals, IQC coordinators, faculty members, and all participants. A very good evening to one and all. We are all eager to attend the 7-day National Online Faculty Development Program on Outcome-Based Education OBE, which is jointly organized by Nirmala College IQSC and Kerala State Higher Education Council.
കലാമണ്ഡലം ശിവദാസന്റെ അതിന്റെ അവർക്ക് കോൺട്രിബ്യൂഷൻ കൊടുക്കണമെന്ന്.
We are all much familiar with the term outcome-based education. Now, many universities in various states, under the framework of National Education Policy, have either introduced or is in the process of implementing outcome-based education in UG and PG level in the forthcoming academic year or later. Though we are a little hesitant to implement it due to various reasons, soon or later, it was meant to be. In the coming 7 days, we will be dealing with the program outcomes, program-specific outcomes, and course outcomes, including taxonomy of learning. Finally, the measurement of course outcomes, program-specific outcomes, and the program outcomes. Also, many teachers are slightly worried or perplexed to make a good question paper based on OBE and how to map with course outcomes. I'm sure that all of you will get a hands-on training in the coming days in this direction. The Kerala Higher Education Council is very keen to implement the outcome-based education. In this direction, they have conducted various awareness and training programs at state level, university level, and as well as college level since 2019 under the leadership of Dr. Rajan Gurukkal, Vice Chairman of Kerala State Higher Education Council. As envisaged in National Education Policy, Dr. Rajan Gurukkal and his team are taking a leading role to implement new curriculum with OBE in Kerala. Dr. Rajan Gurukkal was former Vice Chancellor of MG University. He is a well-known Indian social scientist, historian, professor, and writer. He is with us to inaugurate the FDP on OBE and to deliver the inaugural address. I welcome you, sir, to this function. The president of today's function, Dr. Rajan Varghese, is a member secretary of Kerala Higher Education Council. He was former Pro-Vice Chancellor of MG University. He is always at the forefront to discuss or conduct seminars on policies and programs related to education at all levels. I welcome Dr. Rajan Varghese, sir, to this faculty development program. The keynote speaker, Dr. Suresh Mony, Professor Emeritus, was the founder director of Nirsi Monji Institute of Management Studies. He is also an advisor to many higher education institutions. I welcome you, sir, to this function. Our manager, Right Monsignor Dr. Pius Malekandathil, is a great historian, and he has served as a professor in various universities, including Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi. He has a far insight and vision towards higher education, which made Nirmala one of the best education institutions. With immense pleasure, I welcome you, Father, though you are traveling for an official meeting. I welcome today's resource person, Dr. Mendus Jacob, Director of Computer Science, Department of Marian Autonomous College, Kuttiganam, to this faculty development program. I also welcome our Vice Principal, Professor 𝐂𝐳𝐬𝐫𝐸𝐴𝐬𝐿, our college bursar, Reverend Dr. Justin Kannadan, the IQC team headed by coordinator Dr. Sony Kuriakos. They are working for the last 1 month. They are the backbone of the faculty development program. I acknowledge and I acknowledge for all your sincere efforts, and I welcome all of you to this function. I am happy to announce that nearly 2,000 participants registered for the faculty development program, which shows the relevance of the topic in the current higher education scenario. Many educationalists, including principals, deans, IQC coordinators, and faculty members all over India, registered for the program. I welcome all of you. I am sure that the real outcomes of this faculty development program will materialize in the coming days. I wish all success to the FDP program. I thank especially the Higher Education Council members headed by Dr. Rajan Gurukkal for joining hands with Nirmala College IQSC to conduct the faculty development program on OBE. Thank you all for your supports in this direction. Once again, I wish all success to this faculty development program. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir, for this welcome speech. Now we will move on to the inaugural address. The inaugural address will be delivered by Dr. Rajan Gurukkal, who is the Vice Chairman of KSHEC. Dr. Rajan Gurukkal is the former Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University, Kottayam. Dr. Rajan Gurukkal is a leading Indian social scientist, historian, professor, and writer. He has written many books and articles on different topics and also received awards for his works. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Dr. Rajan Varghese, Dr. Suresh Mony, Reverend Father Pius Malekandathil, respected Principal of Nirmala College, distinguished guests, other dignitaries, Dr.Mendus Jacob and his team, my dear colleagues. Let me at the outset welcome all the guests, dignitaries, and then on top of all, enthusiastic participants from all over. It's extremely gratifying to see that teachers show a genuine need to undergo training in outcome-based education in the form of hands-on workshop, which Dr. Mendus Jacob and his team has been rendering plausible very effectively. Indeed, a new experience, I must say, in the context of workshops that we conduct. Most of them happen to be imposition on teachers, but this training is something totally different. Teachers come forward and then they voluntarily participate in this. And unlike the usual process of just listening to the resource persons, it's a real experience of learning by doing. Now, I need hardly tell you how important and essential it is to undergo the training in outcome-based education in the context of the great transformation we are undergoing in education, particularly higher education, reconstituting the concept, design, operation, function, role, and responsibility of higher education, its institutions, teachers, and students, whatnot, The prime mover is the digital technologies. Now we have been conducting several workshops, again under the leadership of Dr. Mendus. Our teachers have been experiencing that switching over to digital technologies is not just going online, but digital enablement of teaching, learning, and governance. Colleges and universities are coming forward to be digitally equipped for better governance of high-level transparency. And teachers are coming forward for making themselves equipped in effective teaching. It's high time we have conducted training for the students to learn how to learn under ICT environment. In the transformed setup, the teacher's role is to teach how to learn using the digital technology, and the student's responsibility is to do self-learning under ICT environment. And the institution is going to be completely different thanks to the digital technologies, because they are going to be under the system of enterprise resource planning, ERP, that enables to improve the quality of service, increase transparency, and enhance efficiency through the life cycle management of the academic community as a whole, or the campus community. Now, in the specific context of digital technologies and the impact of the technologies on higher education, calling back the outcome-based education has become very relevant, and also technology is helping outcome-based education in an unprecedented manner. People had almost forgotten the learning taxonomy, saying that, oh, Bloom and his team had worked long ago in the 50s. Although Anderson renewed it, still people, without understanding what it means and how it works, were talking about the learning taxonomy, and then teaching with measurable outcomes in mind as something outdated. Now, most of this is because of their utter ignorance about what exactly it is. And I do not know what exactly is the remedy for it, because it is so stubborn a misunderstanding, particularly among the trained teachers. Those who had heard about Bloom's taxonomy as teacher trainees, and it was optional for them to understand or not what Bloom's taxonomy meant. I don't want to go into that ineffectiveness. Actually, outcome-based education is fighting against it. Outcome-based education has been the result of constant dwelling upon the problem of futility in classroom teaching and the ineffectiveness at the level of learning. There's always a big gap between what the teacher tries to put across and what the student picks up. It's mainly because of the problem of language. It's well known among the linguists that language is not a trustworthy medium for taking the ideas from X to Y. It's a very well-known theory. How to overcome this? now the cognitive science has acted as quite reliable and valid. So it is a very clearly outlined preparation of learning, outlined basis of the preparation of learning outcomes, and then preparation of the teaching strategies, designing learning experiences with the objective of attaining learning outcomes. Now it's all becoming very effective thanks to the learning management system. I don't want to go into the details of how students are able to graduate from the basic understanding about things and the usual practice of recalling what they have learned only at the level of the linguistics of description. From that stage to conceptual understanding, procedural understanding, and then higher cognitive benefits like critical evaluation, assessment, and then finally creative ability. Now, this process was all forgotten now. It's quite true that a learner might develop all these at a simultaneous process, no doubt about it. But very few learners would be able to do that. And one doesn't require taxonomy-based rigorous learning outcome-based teaching learning for a rare student who is driven by curiosity. But we are in the stage of democratization of higher education, and there it's important that we provide quality higher education, for which outcome-based education is extremely important. Now, outcome-based education is administered very well and very effectively thanks to the digital technologies available to us. With these words, I formally declare the hands-on workshop inaugurated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for that. We would also like to welcome Dr. Jayashankar, who is the former Vice Chancellor of Kanchi University at a metro of prestigious universities and other HEIS. Now, we will move on to the next session. That's a presidential address that will be delivered by Dr. Rajan, Varghese, Member Secretary, KSHEC. Dr. Rajan Varghese is the former Pro-Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University, Kottayam, and has played a key role in the education sector of Kerala. Over to you, sir.
Okay, good evening. Respected Professor Rajan Gurukkal sir, the principal of the college, Dr. Thomas, Dr. Mendus Jacob, other distinguished guests, and my dear teachers. So, my effort is to highlight some of the new initiatives of the council, especially with regard to this outcome-based education and the use of modern technology in the higher education sector. Council has got a faculty development center which is training teachers in the art and science of online education, and this outcome-based education program, training program, actually forms the core of our activities. As we all know that OB is a nationally mandated thing today, not because of the fact that it is part of our new education policy, but it has been used very effectively by all successful higher education institutions. But in our country, the use of this outcome-based education or declaration of graduate attributes by the universities, it started only of a very recent time or very late. There are several reasons for that, but today the state of Kerala is gearing up to meet the challenges of this modern online education, and also it is trying to revamp its higher education sector. And the most important initiative in this direction is the creation of a new curriculum framework. Actually, we have completed the exercise, and again in this new higher education curriculum framework for the undergraduate program, outcome-based education forms the core of that exercise. And we are also providing training to teachers on Moodle LMS. And even the state of Kerala is providing free server facility to host the learning management system of affiliated colleges in a central server space that is offered by the Digital University of Kerala. So Kerala is making several efforts to provide online education at a subsidized or sometimes at free of cost to all the colleges. And we have a program called the DigiCall, in which all the Moodle LMS learning management system of colleges which have completed the training process, they will be provided with the free server facility or data facility with the Digital University of Kerala. In this process, we have trained nearly 3,500 teachers during the last year. And this year also, we have started the program, and Dr.Mendus Jacob and his team is assisting us and collaborating with the initiatives of the State Higher Education Council. And as Gurukkal sir has noted, there is an increased enthusiasm on the part of our teachers today to undergo this training process, because higher education in this part of the country is facing a very big challenge, especially in the matter of modernizing our higher education sector. We have large number of universities and colleges, but there are few takers for some of our program. And the latest statistics shows that nearly 50 to 70,000 seats are lying vacant in our affiliated colleges due to various reasons. So this is a testing time for the higher education system in the country as a whole, especially in the state of Kerala, because our emphasis earlier was on issues of equity, social justice. Today, there is a great demand for higher education, which we call by the name massification of higher education. All categories, all sections of society, they want the benefits of modern education. To meet that challenge, you have to make higher education relevant. You have to adopt technologies and strategies by which the higher education that is being offered in our colleges, in our universities, are relevant, and it provides some gainful employment to our students. So the introduction of outcome-based education actually serves this purpose. It increases the quality of higher education. It increases the employability of our students or graduates who are coming out of these institutions. And the major problem with the state is that our public institutions, they are sometimes very reluctant to these changes. They accept these changes only after some form of continuous training or persuasion. By that time, you will be missing the first quality or the first grade students. They will migrate to some other area where these programs are offered with technology, with new type of training process. And the core of this outcome-based education, as mentioned by Gurukkal sir, is the teachers. We speak of smart classroom, we speak of digital technology, ICT, but what is required today is smart teachers. Every teacher has to reposition himself in this changing environment. he has to rework, he has to acquire new knowledge, and he has to be in a position to handle technology with ease. Then only you can survive in the profession. Then only you can offer meaningful and socially relevant, technologically advanced higher education to the new entrants in higher education. So this is a major challenge, and to meet this challenge, I hope and believe that training process of this type, especially on topic of outcome-based education, will be highly beneficial, and Higher Education Council Kerala solicit the cooperation of the entire academic community, especially the teachers in the state, for making this higher education socially relevant. And the team headed by Mendus has been helping us. He has been training the teachers not only in the state, he has actually emerged as a leader at the national level. So going by the registration, you can see the pan-Indian nature or participation of teachers in this program. And I doubt how he will handle this nearly 2,000 participants in an online program. Actually, this is a challenge for the organizers, and you have to keep the quality of this training process. When large number of participants they enter into this online program, that can pose quality issues, that can create challenges for the organizers. But he has a very dedicated team and a very tested mechanism of doing this. And I once again offer all best wishes to the participants of this program. And Nirmala College, I am very familiar with that college. That college has emerged as a major seat of learning in this part of the state. And with these words, I conclude. I wish all success to this program. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for all that information. Now we will move on to the keynote address. The keynote address will be delivered by Suresh Mony, who is the advisor higher education institutions, the leadership coach and member for PanIIT Council. Is an experienced leader and coach with a demonstrated history of working in education management, consulting and steel sectors, skilled in leadership, strategy, project management, risk management. He has a doctorate of philosophy, PhD, and masters in financial management from the University of Mumbai and BTech in metallurgy from IIT Madras. He was a professor emeritus for Nasri Monji Institute of Management Studies, NMIMS, for 14 years. He was also a chairperson, Executive Management Program for SP Jain Institute of Management and Research for 6 years. He has taught subjects like business strategy, project management, risk management, and has been a group advisor for Four Seasons Marine and Air Services Limited. He has also developed right from conception a unique rupees 400 crore infrastructure project to carry 12 million passengers per year on the west coast and cross-harbour routes to Mumbai. And he has many other achievements under his belt. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. George. Before we start, I just want to check up with Dr. Mendus whether the slideshow is working.
Sir, it's working.
Yes,
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank
Dr. Rajan Gurukkal, Vice Chairman, Kerala State Higher Education Council. Dr. Rajan Varghese, Member Secretary, Kerala State Higher Education Council. Dr. K.V. Thomas, Principal, Nirmala College. Dr. Reverend Pius, Malekandathil, Manager, Nirmala College. Dr. Mendus Jacob, Professor and Director, MCA, Marian College. Dr. Emmanuel, Vice Principal, Nirmala College. Dr. Justin Kannadan and Dr. Sony Kuriakos, IQAC Coordinator, Nirmala College. It gives me immense pleasure to be participating in this faculty development program organized by Dr. Mendus and Nirmala College and the Kerala State Higher Education Council. When I heard the figure of 2,000 participants, I was really amazed at the reach that both Dr. Jacob, the Nirmala College and the Kerala State Higher Education Council have achieved. This is really immense. This is something very sizable, substantial. And the fact that so many people have registered for this program is testimony, I think, to the work that the Kerala state is doing in terms of propagation of higher outcome-based education. You know, Dr. Jayashankar, who is there, my friend, philosopher, and guide, and me have, been going to a number of institutions all over the country, and we find that what is happening in Kerala in terms of the propagation of outcome-based education is phenomenal. The knowledge that the institutes in Kerala have got is far more than what is there in some of the other leading states. So I think hats off to the work that you have been doing, and it's a good sign that more and more the faculty development programs are happening. So when we start, when Dr. Mendus approached me about 3 weeks ago and said, can I deliver the keynote address for this faculty development program? He gave me a choice. He said, you can talk on OBE, you can talk on quality, or you can talk on anything. So, anything left me in the slight flux. I was just what really to do. So what I've tried to do is, I know the OBE is going to be dealt in detail during the next 7 days, and Dr. Mendus Jacob himself is a great expert. So while I'll be touching on OBE, I really want to give a more macro view, a philosophic view of quality in higher education. So I would like to, as you would notice from the title, I've tried to combine outcome-based education, a TQM approach to quality in education. A TQM stands for the total quality management, and and excellence. When we talk, because whatever we're talking about, whether we're talking about quality, we're talking about OBE, we're talking about TQM, all of this is towards excellence. So I'm trying to combine OBE, the TQM approach to achieve excellence. Now, if you look at, he has given me about 30 to 40 minutes. If I exceed by 5 to 10 minutes, I might seek your indulgence. I mean, I'm trying to cover right from a journey of education to what you hear, the various andragogic techniques, the teaching learning process, and the nuances of TQM, and a sort of evaluation of the OBE. So if you really look at, I think the slideshow is not happening, is it?
Yes, sir. Slideshow is there. It's there.
But you're not able to see the next slide, no?
No, it's the contents,
The contents only, but after that, in the next slide, you're not able to see. Yeah. So let me go back to this.
The slide is not changing.
Slide is not changing. Okay, fine. So yeah. So if you look at the journey of education in India, you could cover it into different periods, from the Vedic era to what's happening post-independence. If you look at the Vedic era, it was somewhere around 1500 BC. So I would like to request you to transport yourself to the Vedic period. The Vedic period, if you were undergoing higher education, you'd probably be sitting under the peepal tree or a banyan tree. You'd have a guru who would be addressing you and teaching you. Maybe there'd be just one or maybe a small group of 3 or 4. And you would be getting discourses from the guru.
Excuse me, sir.
The slide,
the slide is not visible now.
Slide is not visible.
Yeah.
Okay, why is that? This is not visible at all. I'm surprised. Let me start again. Is it visible now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it visible?
Yes.
Visible. Yeah.
Journey of Education in India?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not slideshow, but it is visible.
It's visible. Okay, I'll manually change it.
Yeah.
So I would request you to transport yourself to about 3,500 years ago into the Vedic era, and where you'll be probably sitting under a tree and getting a discourse from the guru. And that was the period when the whole idea was to develop the physical, intellectual, and powers of a student, and to achieve salvation. So the Vedic period said that let's develop the physical, moral, intellectual powers of a student and get him to salvation. And what was taught during those periods were the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, Sanskrit, grammar, and logic. These were the subjects or courses which were taught. Now, what happened in the post-Vedic? The post-Vedic area is called the later Vedic age. It's actually from 600 BC onwards. From 1000 to 600 BC, 600 years before Christ, and that is the period when they talked about self-study. The whole accent was on self-study, emphasis, what was called as Paravidya. They expanded the range of subjects. It was logic, ethics, mineralogy, biology, metallurgy, Ayurveda, medicine, Dhanurveda, the art of warfare, and military science. So the range of subjects got expanded. And so in fact, today we talk about integrated teaching or integrated discipline. Integrated discipline was existing then. For Ayurveda, you had to learn biology, you had to learn metallurgy, you had to learn mineralogy. All these were integrated to that. And this integration is somewhere down the line, it is gone, which was practiced so many years ago. And it was during that period that we had the Nalanda and the Takshila, and we had people or students from all over the world, whether it be from China or Tibet or Korea or the Western world, coming to India for education. India was a center of excellence in education. Then we had the Mauryan and the Gupta period, where there was more structure. They had introduced courses in mathematics, in medicine, in law. That was curriculum of India. Then, of course, we had the colonial era during the British time, where it was more propagation of British culture. Of course, they brought in a lot of system and structure. The schooling system of today, we owe it to the British, but there was a slight bias towards the bringing in or imbibing the British culture. Now, post-independence, we have gone through a lot of phases, a lot of education policy documents, and but I mean, I think we have not really got our act together in terms of education. Why I'm saying so? If you really compare, if you say today a student is sitting in an air-conditioned room, he is in front of smart boards, he's got online education, he's got technology. So you might say that the education is far better than what it was in the Vedic era. But alas, if you compare with the number of foreign students coming to India, it was more in terms of proportion in that period than now. Which means India as a hub of education was, the hub of education in the Vedic area. Today it is not a hub of education. I think Dr. Rajan Gurukkal and Dr. Rajan Varghese were saying about the flight of students from India abroad. And that's really a point. Today a lot of students from Kerala are going abroad. A lot of seats are lying vacant. Why is it so? Because there's something to do with the quality. I think we have to get our act together. So the post-independence, so if you want to compare the Vedic and the post-independence period, I think in terms of quality, we are not where we were on a relative scale in the Vedic period. So we have to really get our act together. Now, I'm even going to let to the OB, the outcome-based education. I hope you can see the slide. Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
So the outcome-based education really came about somewhere in the late 80s, 1988. It was a gentleman called William Spady who brought in outcome-based education. And you see, until then, what was happening was education was more on the input side. The teacher decided the curriculum, the university decided the overall program and the subjects that were to come by it. But the student was not in the fulcrum. The student was not in the epicenter. So William Spady said that it has to revolve around ends. What the student should know, what is the purpose of his education, in what field is he going. So we have to specify that. Now, when I look at that, this outcome-based education, I think you can compare it with a product. If you look at a manufacturer, if you want to buy a car, if you want to buy a car, you will say, okay, I want a 4-seater car or a six-seater car, a small vehicle or a bigger vehicle. It should have so much horsepower. It should have a speed. It should get an acceleration of speed in so many 10 seconds or 15 seconds. So these are the product specifications. Sadly, in education, and that's why in the late 80s, the educationists got together and said, let us specify the product. What should be the product? At the end of the course or the end of the program, what should the product look like in terms of the skills, the knowledge, the skills, and the attributes? And that's where we also gotten more into talking about knowledge, skills, and attributes, So, and this was a self-regulated process. In project management, we talk about PDCA, plan, do, check, act. So if you want to achieve an end product specification, we have to plan for it. We have to do certain things. We have to do check, and it has to be an iterative process and then act. In project management, that's what we do. Plan, do, check, act is an iterative process. So similarly, to achieve the end product in terms of the certain qualities or attributes of a student, we have to do a PDCA. So the first countries who really got into this outcome-based education were Australia and South Africa. And South Africa, surprisingly, was in the aftermath of the independence when the blacks came to power, and they said the blacks were being discriminated against. So if they have to have a proper selection process for admission into schools, I think let there be an outcome-based, let there be a selection process, let there be an outcome-based specification, and then let the students be selected. And that's how South Africa got into the game early. But somewhere, because of certain problems in terms of implementation, I think both Australia and South Africa seem to have abandoned the outcome-based education. In USA, it came in the mid-90s. Hong Kong took it up in 2005. And somewhere in 1989, the Washington Accord actually came into being. And Washington Accord was primarily for the engineering education. And countries were asked to sign for the Washington Accord. Washington Accord came into being in 1989. But India actually signed the Washington Accord only in 2013. So India has been, so relatively speaking, if you look at outcome-based education, India is in the relative infancy. It's only about 10 years ago. It's really only about 10 years ago that India adopted outcome-based education. And that is why I would say in most of the states, it's still in its infancy, barring, I would say, the state of Kerala, where it has made immense strides. Now, the proposition for you, what I'm trying to do is a thought-provoking interaction or a discussion. Is outcome-based education a sufficient prerequisite for ensuring quality in higher education and for continued excellence? There are keywords here. Outcome-based education is a keyword. Ensuring quality is a keyword. And continued excellence is a keyword. So this is the proposition that we have, which we will take up. Oh, sorry. Oh, something happened.
Seems the slide is not moving.
Slide is not moving.
Better to go to the next slide.
1 minute. There are too many overlapping windows. Okay, is the
Now the slide is there. Now it's
slide again it got up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the next
Okay,
slide
is the slide moving now?
no.
No. There's something wrong with this. I don't know how do I. Just I'll stop and share it again. Oh, the video also stopped, is it? Okay, it is coming. It's not somehow it's not moving.
If you directly click on the 6th slide in the margin, it may appear.
I know, just a minute. It's not, even if I click there, it is not moving. It's why it's happening.
If you have any other application open, you can close that, maybe you have any other application open. Looks like, yeah.
Move the slides. Is it happening? There are too many buttons there. But it's not moving. How do I move from one to the other?
Yeah, now it moved.
It's come now.
Yeah.
But it is, I have to move from one slide to other.
Like that, if you click on 6th.
So say when I go.
Yeah, please
Next
go
slide.
down.
How?
6th one.
Yeah.
Now I think it will move.
Yeah, you can click on 6th.
Okay. It is moving. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
Thanks. So sorry for this. Yeah. Okay. So if you want to really look at the philosophy of the teaching process, there's an echo now, I think. Let's look at who a student is. The traditional views was the student was a product. Like in the end, we had a manufactured product. We said the student is the product. But is the student really a product? Afterwards, they started saying the student is a consumer. And because if it's a consumer, you have choices. You can choose programs, you can choose courses. So they said, as we came into the 50s and 60s, they said the student is a consumer. But in both of these, the student is disenfranchised. He is disengaged. Because see, when I say disenfranchised, he got no vote. He's got no vote for what he wants at the end of the program or what he wants in a particular course. And that's why you find there's a lot of disengagement in the class. We always have problems with the students, whether they are engaged in class or not. So in both the product view and the consumer view, the student is not engaged. And that's why you have a third view. A third view is called the client-centric view. And sadly, we do not look at the student as a client. When I say a client, if you go to a doctor, you tell your problem. The doctor will give a solution. He will give you some medicines. If you go with high BP, he'll say, you do exercise, you take these medicines, and then you come back after 2 weeks or 1 month and report. Now, if you do not do exercise, if you do not take the medicine, then you are failing in the duty. But the doctor is not merely, his expertise is not sufficient to cure you, which means you have a role. As a client to the doctor, the patient has got a role. So similarly, a student should also have a role. We have, as teachers, as the institutions, we have certain expectations of the student, and that has to be spelled out. If that is not spelled out, and the student does not discharge those responsibilities, obviously he'll be disengaged. And that is what the client-centric view in recent years is saying, that we should look at the client as a student as a client. Now, I'll also give another parallel. Like in if you're a consultant, you're a consultant and you give a proposal, you will always say that as a consultant, these are my responsibilities. As a client, these are your responsibilities. And unless you do discharge these responsibilities, whatever I'm saying, whatever advice I'm giving, whatever solutions I'm recommending will not happen. So similarly, it's incumbent on the student to also be like a client and discharge certain responsibilities. Now, I will just take you certain andragogies. I like to use the word andragogies and not pedagogies, because andragogies is for adults, pedagogies is for children. So we still, if you look at the andragogies, the product-centric approach still predominates. The lecture still predominates. And I get very frustrated when I go to colleges and I find the word lecture hall. It can't be lecture hall anymore. It's interactive class discussions. So when we set up our campus in Bangalore, we made it a point to call it a learning room. So faculty are still subsumed or consumed by the word lecture. They think they won't have to give lectures. They are a stage artist in which they perform. And the lecture is still uppermost in the mind of this has to go. And the moment this goes, I think we will have an improvement towards a more interactive or more collaborative teaching learning process in the class. The consumer approach, of course, is project-based, problem solving, constructivism. There are three theories of learning. So the constructivism theory says that the student makes the project, he does problem solving, and then he creates knowledge. He creates knowledge for himself. Whereas this is opposed to the behaviorism theory in schools which teachers adopt, where it's more on memory and recall, and which is on stimulus that recalls memory. Or in the cognitivism theory, which is more about information dissemination or information processing. In the consumer approach, the project-based and the problem-solving theory is really to create knowledge. It's not only that the faculty is creating knowledge through research, but even students, when they do problem-solving and project, they are creating knowledge. So these are both still teacher-centric. We have to come to a learner-centric. The learner-centric approach, the activity is the center. The activity is the fulcrum. And education is not about acquisition of knowledge, but it has to be earned. It has to be earned. Education is not a noun, but it has to work. Dr. Rajan Gurukkal mentioned about the Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy, we go to the highest level of creation. The students have to create. The students, after analyze, they evaluate, they have to create. And that is where the real learning will happen. So the andragogies in teaching and learning have to be really learner-centric. Now I want to raise some questions. Are we making use of the range of andragogic techniques? I went to one of the institutions recently, and I asked them, what are the andragogic techniques that you're using? And there was a range. We had about 30 odd. Some of them were participative. In the NAC accreditation, you have this question: what are the participative pedagogies you're using? What are the problem-solving pedagogies, and what are the experiential? So you could have anything from interactive class, group work, movies, games, psychological test simulations. So this slide itself has got about 26 techniques. So the question that we have to ask is, how many techniques that we are using for a particular course? When I posed this question to the faculty, and I found there was hardly 4 or 5. Most of them were using 2 or 3 techniques, and the maximum was about 4 or 5. So the question that we have to ask is, can we use more techniques? Why? Using more techniques will, not for the sake of doing it, will make the class more engaging, will make the class less boring. You'll attract the student attention. So this is the question we have to use. I think the number of techniques have increased in recent times, but yes, it deserves a lot more attention. The other thing which we have to talk about is team-based learning. Today, more and more, it is going to team-based learning. It is just not a single teacher teaching in a class. It's the co-teachers. And today, this team is not built among students, not necessarily teacher and students. It could be teacher and internet. It could be between, so it could be teacher, student, and internet. And that is what is known as collaborative learning, and collaborative learning or team learning. And research has found that the learners they talk more, they speak more if the level of team-based learning is more. So in a low structured learning, the student speaks for only 15 minutes, 15% of the time. In the moderate structure, it is about 15 to 40%. And high structured learning is about plus 40%. So the idea is to keep on increasing the level of student involvement. And so that it has to be more and more high structure. So which means more teamwork, not among students alone, between students and teachers, students and the internet, and what have you. So maybe students and the external world. So this is a thought for provocation. Now the next thing is, and this is a favorite topic of mine, in terms of multiple intelligences. You know, the Howard Gardner in the 1980s propounded this theory of multiple intelligences. And he says each one of us is endowed with multiple intelligences. By and large, we measure only the IQ, the intelligence quotient. The intelligence quotient is largely about the linguistic and the logical type of intelligence. But there are many more intelligence. There are 8 intelligences. He said linguistic, logical, spatial, kinesthetic, naturalist, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and musical intelligence. So how many of us, we have to put our hand in our heart, reflect, introspect, and say, are we making use of more intelligences? When I look at these 8, by and large, I'll find the linguistic intelligence is made use of because we teach languages, we teach different languages, we teach the art of listening, the art of communication. So all that is in linguistic lingo. Logical, because we have mathematics, it's about equations, A plus B equal to C, A square plus B square equals C square. These are all logical. Physics is logical. We have intrapersonal. Intrapersonal is probably there in the courses of psychology, in courses of sociology, maybe also in communication. Intrapersonal intelligence is being used. Interpersonal also is being used in management, in human resource management, in organization behavior. But the other 4, the kinesthetic intelligence, the musical intelligence, the spatial intelligence, and the naturalist intelligence are being not really used, not in vogue really. And what do they mean? Kinesthetic is really about the body movements. A sportsman uses kinesthetic skill. The dancer uses kinesthetics. So if you can have techniques where we can use body language, physical gestures, or body sculpture, maybe a drama, enacting a drama or role play, a gymnastic routine, even a sports games. Recently, I went to, I think it was Marian College, where they said they were using sports. They were using the kinesthetic advantage of sports and games to teach. This is really commendable. So each one of us as faculty have to introspect, reflect, and see, can we use the kinesthetics, bodily movement? Otherwise, the class becomes boring. Can we use kinesthetics to enhance the teaching learning process? The next is about musical intelligence. I always remember this Professor Bhargav, who was part of the National Education Policy 2020, who said that when I think of when I'm doing mathematics research, I think of music. When I'm doing music, when I'm singing, I think of mathematics. Dr. Jayashankar, who's also a brilliant mathematician, he'll also subscribe to this. Yesterday, I came across a student who has just passed the, I think, 11th or 12th in the Karnataka board. He's a brilliant musician. And he said, I think of music and mathematics together. So even the youngsters are doing this. So music is not only for mathematics, it's for maybe you can use it for other subjects also. Environmental sounds you can use instrumental sounds, music performance, singing itself, and all these can be done. You might wonder how is it being done in class. Strictly speaking, if you go to the schools, the good schools are using these types of intelligences far more than higher education. And that's why I thought I'll bring this to your attention. If you go to the good schools today, they are using the Gardner's 8 intelligences much more than higher education. So that was an example for musical intelligence. What about spatial intelligence? Spatial intelligence is used for geology, for architecture, and it's about active imagination, color, texture, mind mapping, visualizing, collage, painting. All these can be used. And these also have a lot of salutary benefit in terms of the understanding process and the teaching learning process. So this is about naturalist intelligence. This is about caring for animals, habits. I'm sure some of the biology teachers are using this, but it can be used not only in biology, but it can be used in other subjects also. So what I wanted to impress on you is, one is that in terms of the Wages andragogic techniques, in terms of team-based learning, and then whether we are using the range of intelligences that we have in our teaching learning process in the class. And now that brings me, let me come to this whole entire philosophy of Edward Deming. Edward Deming actually visited Japan. What happened in the 50s? Japan took a great lead over the Western world in terms of productivity and efficiency. And Edward Deming went to Japan and studied the processes and how they were able to achieve it. And he propounded his total quality management philosophy. It's not so much a theory, it's really a total quality management philosophy. It's a way of life. And he coined this term called the system of profound knowledge of business. And so if you look at it, it is really an appreciation of the system. He said the system, that means when you look at the system, you look at the input, the process, the output. So he looked at first the entire thing as, that means we must look at quality itself as a system. So that is the opposite. Then how do you measure the variation? The variation, and that is the statistical part. What is the gap? What is the gap between what quality has to be achieved and what quality is not being achieved? Then he said the theory of knowledge. I mean, he's looking at the workers, because when he formulated this theory of the total quality and philosophy, it was for manufacturing companies. Manufacturing companies, it was for the automobile companies of the Toyotas of the world. So he said, how do workers act and think based on that perception? So the third part of his system of profound knowledge was the theory of knowledge of what is the understanding of the worker. This was the behavioral part. And then he came to really the psychology part. How is it that human nature influences workers? So the theory of profound knowledge is really based on operations management principles, is based on statistical principles, is based on the behavioral and psychological principles. Now, Deming formulated 14, shall I say, he called them points, he called them quality points or quality pillars. I like to call them as mantras. There were 14 mantras, and he said these mantras are essential for a total quality management. And this he studied from the Japanese philosophy, from the Japanese manufacturing companies. And you might wonder, what can you gain or sort of learn from manufacturing companies to a service sector like education? But there's a lot that one can learn. In fact, today in what we are doing in services, in terms of quality, a lot of it has come from manufacturing. So Deming's first mantra was constancy of purpose. He said our purpose should be constant. We should not lose sight of the purpose. And that is why you find in all our quality accreditations, one of the first things we ask is, what is the mission of the company? The mission defines the purpose. Peter Drucker always said the mission is the most important because it defines the purpose. And that remains for life. The vision can change, but the mission is for life, for posterity. So if you want to apply that, the constancy of purpose to education, I think we should have the word quality somewhere in the mission. Sadly, when I look at the mission statements of many colleges, I don't find the word quality. They talk about many things. They talk about achieving higher education, maybe internationalization. They talk about social outreach. But the word somehow quality is sadly missing in the mission statement. I think it's up to us to reflect and see, because if once you put it in the mission, then you will go by it. Then you will constantly look at the mission and see whether whatever your actions you're doing in terms of education, in terms of the teaching learning process, has a quality component. So, and that's why when you say today institutions are looking at raising test scores. When I say raising test scores, they say the pass percentage. You know, we are saying the pass percentage has increased from 80% to 90%. The average, the student score has become 98%, 99%. I think those are numbers. That is not the primary purpose. The primary purpose is not getting 98% or 99%, but has the student really learned? So the constancy of purpose is very important, and that has to be reflected in the mission. The second thing, what he said is you must adopt the quality philosophy. If you don't adopt quality philosophy, what happens? You have dropouts. Today, if you look at the schooling system in India, you have at the primary school stage, you have about 95%. 95% of students are enrolled. When it comes to the secondary education stage, it's only about 59 or 60%. There's a huge drop of about 30, 40% by the time the students come to the 8th standard. And, you know, that is a huge loss to society. In operations management, there's a term coined called the cost of poor quality. So it's incumbent. So in education also, there's a huge quality gap, and that is coming because of the students. It is also coming because of poor teaching learning process. It's coming because of poor teachers. So I think we have to really see how we can estimate or compute the cost of poor quality. So that is Deming's mantra number 2. Deming's mantra number 3 is cease mass inspection. If you go to manufacturing companies, there's inspection. There's inspection at every stage. So right from the raw material stage to the process stage, to the semi-finished product, to the final product. And then it's like a police raj. You know, today we blame the government for being a police raj, or the income tax for harassing us. Even in manufacturing companies, there's an inspection at every stage. So he says, and this is my favorite point in Deming's quality philosophy. If you treat the students as co-workers, then they will be responsible for the quality. If it's a top-down approach and the top management specifies the quality and comes with a stick trying to find out the fault of the worker on the line, it'll be never achieved. What he found in Japan was that they were able to get 100% quality. In fact, I would always like to say this in humor, in jest. An Indian company ordered goods on Japan, and they specified that they gave a product specification, and they said defects are 5 ppm, that is 5 parts per million. The Japanese did not understand this. So Japanese supplied the goods, and they made 5 defective parts, the 5 defective parts. So, and they said what, because they said that the customer wants some defective parts also. That is because they are used to 100% quality. So that is the extent which Japan had gone in terms of quality. And why that happened was the workers were able to evaluate their own processes, make mid-course corrections if necessary, even on an assembly line, and only the 100% pure quality product came out. So similarly, if you want to apply Deming's philosophy to education, we have to make the students responsible. And that is what we said earlier in terms of the client-centric approach. In the client-centric approach, you're making the students responsible. The students responsible for the quality, for their output, the whatever the outcomes that they are talking about. If we can do that, we have achieved a great sort of a leap in quality in education in India. Today, even with outcome-based education as it is being practiced today does not make the student an owner. The student owner of quality. That is what the ultimate the objective is. Make the student an owner for quality. That is the Deming's mantra number 3. Mantra number 4 is really, he said, remove this price tag. We are too much bothered about the price tag, low tender contracts, and all that. If you extrapolate this to the education space, we are bothered so much about economies of scale. Education today is being run as a business. Even the AICTE and UGC specify that as you must have a minimum class of 60 in order to make it viable. Handling a class of 60 is not easy. And then you are going for standardized processes. Whereas if you went to a Vedic age, it was small. It was one to maybe 1 or 1 to 2 or 3 or 4. Then you can have customized processes. So we are falling prey to the short-term gains in terms of the pricing. And because we want a certain pricing, we want to have a certain economies of scale. We want to earn certain revenues. We want to earn certain profits. I think all this is happening. But if we do not do this, I think the teaching learning process can be far better. The next mantra is seek out problems. If you want to have quality in the end, you have to seek out problems. Don't wait for problems to happen. Go through you have a process of where you are constantly saying what can be wrong, what could go wrong. Because he says the solution is not easy. You don't have quick fix solutions. And that is why in Japan, they formulated this whole philosophy of Kaizen. Kaizen said, so in Kaizen, what was happening was the workers from a bottom-up process were giving their suggestions for improvement every day. Every day there should be a suggestion box for improvement. And at the end of the week, on the coming Monday, they aggregated all those suggestions for improvement and implemented them at the extent possible. So there were no quick fix solutions, but then the suggestions were coming up bottom up. It was coming from the workers. So can we extrapolate this to education space where we can get suggestions from students? Today, again, even if we have outcome-based education, the student is not so much in the picture for fixing this, the outcomes. We probably go to alumni, we probably go to industry, we discuss amongst ourselves, but the student is not so much in the picture. So can we involve the student also in giving improvements? Although you might not involve them in the outcome, but you can also involve them in him or her in the process for improvement. I think this is the training and retraining on the job. So in India, we have teachers who are, who have become teachers. They have not had any training or retraining in between. The fact that Nirmala College is doing this and there are 2,000 teachers attending this is a great sign, really, because you're all really passionate about training and training on the job. In fact, Peter Drucker said, we must have training constantly so that we can also have a fourth career. You might have a teacher, you might be a teacher, but you can become an administrator in the end. You can become a quality expert in the end. So this training and retraining on the job constantly opens up new avenues for us. And that is a fallout from Deming's philosophy. Deming's philosophy. Learning process is fine, but you must have supervision. And the supervision comes out from leadership. And we have to manage the students without coercion. We have to have a dialogue with students of what is to be done. And see, today the teacher looks at himself or herself as a teacher. I think if you want to implement the outcome-based learning and the TQM philosophy, the teacher has to look at himself or herself as a facilitator for improving the system, not merely for improving the lecture delivery, not merely for improving one technique, one pedagogic technique, but how can we improve the entire system? That is the leadership. So the teacher has to take leadership for improving the system. The next mantra of the 8th mantra was drive out fear. Workers don't do work if they're going to do it out of fear because of the litany of rules. Students also will not learn. In the earlier days, there was one bad habit with the teachers had was using the whip. Today we don't use the whip, but we all pray to the whims of the student. We allow indiscipline in class. But if you earn the respect of students, I think then the collaboration will work. It has to be like in a family. You know, you don't have to tell anything to a student. It is all self-propelled. So for that, we have to encourage communication. And that's what the removing fear aspect tells you. It's very customary nowadays, especially with learning from the corporate world, to give targets. Deming said in Japan, there were no targets. There was no fear of targets. There was no fear of quantitative pressures. There was a self-imposed discipline to regulate processes, to increase the outcomes, to improve the quality. But there was no, danda, or there was no whip cracked. So reduce the pressure on teachers. Today, there is a lot of pressure on teachers. There's a lot of pressure on students. I think we have to reduce that pressure. And the 14th or the last mantra of Deming is really to have transformation. So this whole philosophy of TQM has to be a process. It has to be a transformation process. And for that, you need everyone to be involved. It just can't be the IQAC. It can't be just Dr.Mendus Jacob or Dr. Sony Kuriakose alone doing this. It has to be the entire, all the faculty. It has to be all the students. It has to be the supporting staff. And because it's a change. Jim Collins is a very well-known exponent of this change management process. And he says for instilling change, you need a critical mass. You need a critical mass of faculty and staff to lead the process. So we must have a critical mass. That's why you need a team of champions. The IQAC could be a champion, but there could be others apart from IQAC who could also maybe join in the process. I don't know what happened. Okay. So now I'll come to the benefits and challenges of OBE. Are you able to see the slide?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, if you look at the benefits, you see that the OBE is a learner-centric approach. I talked about the student-centric approach, the teacher-centric approach. The OBE is a learner-centric approach. It models real-world scenarios. At least that's what it's expected to do. If you are properly linking the program outcomes to the graduate, so in many institutions we go, they have formulated the program outcomes. They have formulated some course outcomes. But when I find the program outcomes are not related to the graduate attributes at all, the first step is to identify the graduate. What are the knowledge, skills, and attitude that the graduate should possess at the end of the program? If that is articulated, then the program outcomes can come. Then the program specific outcomes can come. And then the course outcomes can be linked, synchronized with the POs and the PSOs. So that's what the OBE is supposed to do. So there it will take into account real world scenarios in terms of what the industry wants, what are the contemporary advances. So the OBE is theoretically supposed to do that. I think during the course of this 7-day FDP, I'm sure Dr. Mendus Jacob will lead you into how to link graduate attributes with program outcomes, with PSOs, with the course outcomes. So the other benefits of having, if you do that, automatically the KSA approach of knowledge, skills, and attitude will happen. See, hitherto in a teacher-centric approach, it was more imparting knowledge. The skills were less. More and more, if you talk to the recruiters, they say we want knowledge. Knowledge can be imparted. Skills can be imbibed. It's the attitude which is more important. I think most of us, teachers and faculty and the institutions, are guilty of not giving importance to the attitude. In an outcome-based scenario, we also have to articulate what are the attitude that we should develop in the student at the end of the program. It is not an easy task. It is difficult because the attitude gets formed during the ages of 4 to 14. But after that, it's not easy. The molding happens in that age group of 4 to 14. But yet, as institutions of higher education, we have to see how we can mold the attitude. The other big benefit of OBE is what is now known as the T-shaped skills. You know, when I first read T-shaped skills, I really didn't understand it. But what really means, the T has got a horizontal bar and a vertical bar. The vertical bar stands for the depth. So outcome-based education is expected to give you depth of knowledge. It's also expected to give you the breadth of knowledge. And that's what today, so that means hyper-specialized knowledge and also collaboration across disciplines with what you may say integrated approach. The other advantage of the outcome-based approach is it is not based on standardized processes. There's a lot of flexibility. You can use different settings in classroom. You can take people outside the classroom. Everything need not be under one roof. So those are the advantages of the outcome process. Are you able to see the next slide? Yeah. The next benefit is really in terms of consumer centricity. So the students can pick and choose programs and courses. The parents can help the students to pick and choose. There's also flexibility. If there's one educational institution having OBE, a student wants to go from one institution to another institution, he can try, credits can be transferred by and large if the outcomes are similar. So it also facilitates restructuring of the course. So today we are talking about academic bank of credit. We are talking about transfer of credits in the new educational policy. Outcome-based education helps that. So it facilitates the restructuring of a curriculum. So these are the advantages or the benefits of outcome-based education. But what are the challenges? It has got challenges. One is the room for interpretation is less. There's no prescriptive set. You know, we like a prescriptive set that you do go as per these norms or you go as per these processes. There's now a lot of flexibility. And that also scares some faculty or some institutions. You know, a lot of institutions are used to getting instructions from the university. The university fixes the outcomes. But now there is a lot of scope for the institutions to fix their own courses or fix their own outcomes. But the experience has shown that it works better with the engineering type of programs, the sciences types of programs, the vocational education, to a lesser extent with arts and literature and philosophy. That's because the engineering and sciences are more normative. They are more, in black and white, whereas arts and literature and management have got more shades of gray. I always say management has got a lot of shades of gray. So also arts and literature and philosophy. So the OBE has not worked so well with that. So there's a lot of scope for improvement there. And then the pen and paper test. The pen and paper test also has not so worked well with the OBE type of this thing. So OBE works well with projects, it works well with problem solving, it works well with research type of assignments or research type of question paper. It works very well with that, but not so much with the traditional pen and paper. Okay. Now, are you able to see the slide, please?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, fine. So the nuances of TQM and applied to education. You see, the total quality management, I said, is a way of life. It is a philosophy. See, and when we talk about the teaching learning, as I said, traditionally we have been talking about knowledge. And knowledge is only one part of the education process. So at the end of a program, the student should learn to know. Learning to know is one thing. Then learning to do, learning to live, and learning to be. Because when learning to know is building the knowledge. The learning to do is the practical application of the knowledge. And in adult learning, unless you do application of knowledge, you do not imbibe the knowledge. You do not absorb the knowledge. And the learning to live is really the critical skills, the life skills that you need to, the life skills that you need to imbibe, the life skills that you need to practice. See, life skills is not being taught in universities. Today, in schools, they have started life skills. In the earlier days, I remember we used to have moral science. In most of the Jesuit schools, we used to have moral science. I'm sure they still have. In most of the other schools, we do not have moral science. Some of them have started life skills. So life skills needs to be reintroduced. And the learning to be is the skills that need to be practiced before you go out into the big bad world, and how to realize that full potential. And that is what the humanism theory says. You have to realize your full potential. The humanism theory said that you create knowledge, you learn, you do research, you create knowledge. The student also constructs knowledge. The humanism theory says that the student has to bloom. The student has to realize full potential. And that, so the focus of learning, the TQM looks at learning to know, to be, to live, and to do. And so that is the advantage. So the foundational philosophy is every student has a worth. There is no, you see, we have, in fact, as faculty, we are guilty. If the student doesn't meet a pass mark, we say the student is a failure. No student is a failure. I think the TQM philosophy says no one is a failure. No one is a failure in life. We see a mass spate of suicides because of someone has not cleared an exam. Even in the IITs, we have found suicides, which have become common. But that is because we are not instilling the proper life skills. The life skills have to be instilled. And a student has to know that he has a worth, even if he doesn't get 80%. So that is the first one fundamental philosophy of TQM that we have to instill in students. The second fundamental philosophy is that student is not only a product, is not only a consumer, the student is also a worker. This to me is more important. I think we as institutions are not practicing this philosophy that the student is the worker. Unless the student is a worker and practices, takes responsibility, takes ownership for the actions of quality, I think quality will not be realized. And the final foundational philosophy is teachers are facilitators and administrators. They are just not merely teachers. Now I'm coming to the final part. I said that I'm trying to integrate OBE, TQM with this concept of excellence. If you look at excellence, what is excellence? Excellence can't be defined. Excellence also is nebulous. Excellence, you can't put it in terms of black and white. If you look at 100 meters race, in fact, in the 60s, when Armin Harry crossed or he ran 100 meters in 10 seconds, it was a big thing. That was considered to be the acme of excellence. Afterwards, when Usain Bolt made it 9.5 seconds, that was the acme of excellence. In cricket, Don Bradman has got an average of 99.9 in tests. That is still not been surpassed. That has been the acme of excellence. But when we came to Sachin Tendulkar scored 100 centuries in Test cricket and ODI cricket combined. That is today an acme of excellence. So excellence is being talked about in different terms. Depends upon which era. The excellence changes with time, it changes with space, it changes with perspective. And the judgment of excellence also changes depending upon whether it's an accreditor who's looking at it, whether it's an accrediting agency, whether it is a parent who's looking at it, whether it's an employer who's looking at it, whether it's a research agency who's looking at it. So the concept of excellence changes. So you have four, and the fourth thing is, in excellence, you have to constantly raise the bar. So very often institutions think that I've got an A plus in my first cycle of NAAC accreditation. That is it. It's not the be all and end all. That is one part of it. You have to enhance that. You have to raise that bar. If you look at some of the standards in the world, you look at all the ISO standards, you look at the CMM level standards. In fact, some companies have got standards which surpass these international standards. If you look at a company like 3M, for instance, 3M standards are far beyond what the ISO standards are. CMM level 5 has got certain standards, but some companies, and even including some of the Indian companies, have got the standards beyond CMM level 5. So it involves constant raising of the bar. And that is what helps me. So if you want to satisfy criteria A and B on this slide, please look at this slide. I said A, closely linked to outcomes, and B, criteria evolving through time and space. Satisfying A and B can be done through OBE, outcome-based education. So outcome-based education fixes certain standards. It helps you to move the standards through time and space, so you can satisfy A and B through outcome-based education. But if you want to go to the ultimate D, constantly raise the bar by everyone in the system, then you have to go to TQM. Because TQM says that for everyone in the system, including the top management, the operating management, the teachers, the faculty, the administrative staff, and the students are responsible for quality. So we ultimately, if you want to have quality at an ACME, you want to reach excellence, it has to be a combination of OBE and TQM. To me, OBE is a subset of the TQM philosophy. If you look at the future students will be entering the corporate. See, today's jobs will be non-existent. Many of the jobs which are there yesterday are not there today. So many years back, we used to have a job of a clerk. Today, we don't call a clerk. Only in some government organization, you might have the position of a clerk, but even that they have dispensed with. Lot of middle layer jobs have gone from the organizations. With the advent of AI and technology, there's disruption to the work, disruption to the work systems, there's disruption to organizations, there's disruption to the employment pattern. So the new skills are going to be required. New skills are going to be required. You will need more degrees. You will need more vocational education. You will need more competency programs. In fact, one of our very well-known professors in the US, Professor Vijay Govindarajan of Tuck University. I listened to him in a Harvard job, and he said that by 2050, only 10% of American universities will survive. Only 10% of American universities will survive. Why? Because the craze for degrees will probably reduce a bit, and only those universities will survive which can inculcate the soft skills, communication skills, the critical thinking skills, the complex problem solving skills. Not every college is equipped to do that. And there'll be this whole system of stackable degrees. Students, industry will accept stackable degrees. You can take a credit. You can stackable credits, not stackable degrees, stackable credits. You can take a credit for 10 credits in 6 months, join a company, make another 10 credits, add on to the credits. So you can keep on adding to the credits. You will get a degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and companies will be happy with that. So it is incumbent on all higher education institutions, administrations, and faculty to keep constantly upgrading our OBE and leverage on TQM. I'm saying upgrading OBE and leverage on TQM. So what should we do? So I'm just summarizing this by saying, because we are not doing this, OBE is being done, it still is in infancy. I think it is being practiced to some extent in many institutions, but let us also add some of the outcomes or philosophies of the total quality management philosophy of Edward Deming. I think the first one, let's incorporate quality in every mission. Second, let us start computing the cost of poor quality, the cost of poor teaching, and let's make a measure to that. Let us involve the student and the worker. Let us make the student responsible for assuming quality, for assuming quality by even doing evaluation. I think we talked about peer evaluation. Let's also make the student do self-evaluation and maybe even evaluate some of the assignments. Let us take a client-centric approach. That is, the student is responsible and an owner. Let us review class sizes. Let us review class sizes, whether it's 60 is optimum, 60 is viable, or even if we have a 60 class size, can we have teaching learning in smaller groups? Let us have let as top management, as institution builders, let us seek out problems. Constantly ensure that Kaizen is introduced in every educational institution. There is constant improvement, weekly improvement. Let us conduct skill gap analysis and see what is the gap in terms of individual faculty into the needs. And let us have constant training and retraining like Nirmala College and KSHEC are doing right now. Let the faculty change the mindset. I am not a teacher, I am a facilitator. I have to not just teach and deliver in the class, I have to improve the system. You know, we often have slogans, we often have goals. We give goals, but let the student, or maybe student in consultation with student committees and with the faculty, set goals for themselves and make slogans to achieve the goals. There they'll have more internal motivation. It will not be imposed by the institution, but the student will have more motivation to make to achieve the goals. Let us have constant feedback evaluation to gauge the system's effectiveness. And let us create a team of faculty and non-teaching staff to champion and lead change. And that has to be there. For IQAC is there, but if you want to also introduce TQM, let us also have that in every institution. Then I believe that it'll be a synergy. We will be synergizing outcome-based education and TQM to achieve excellence. Just to leave you with these quotes of Mahatma Gandhi and John F. Kennedy. I think both were great leaders. I think leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. And live as if you were to die tomorrow, and lead by example as if you were to live forever. Thank you, friends. It was a great pleasure interacting with you and delivering this keynote address. I don't know whether it served your purpose. These are some of the thoughts on a macro basis, on a philosophic basis, that I thought would be useful to each and every one for you. I'm passionate about some of the thoughts that I have tried to distill in front of you. I hope this will be useful for every institution to change the approach towards teaching learning process, in addition to the OBE process that Dr. Mendus Jacob and the IQAC teams and all the Kerala State Education Council is trying to imbibe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Suresh, Mony, sir, for that very informational speech. Thank you very much. Now we will move on to the manager's address. The manager's address will be delivered by Reverend Dr. Monsignor Pius Malekandathil, who is the manager of Nirmala College. Monsignor Reverend Dr. Pius Malekandathil is currently the manager of colleges of Corporate Educational Agency, Diocese of Kodamanglam. He was a professor at the Center of Historical Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. After having done research in Lisbon and postdoctoral research at South Asian Institute of Heidelberg University, Germany. After that, he has headed many academic institutions. He has also been a member of Academia de Marina of Lisbon, Portugal, and a syndicate member of Sri Shankaracharya University of Sanskrit at Kaladi, Kerala. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, dear Professor Suresh Mony, Professor Rajan Gurukkal, Professor Rajan Varghese, Professor Mendus Jacob, Professor Thomas, our principal, Dr. 𝐿𝐴𝐳𝐸𝐴𝐳𝐲, esteemed delegates and teachers from across the country. From the part of the management, I would like to extend a warm and cordial welcome to all the participants who have been attending this wonderful FDP faculty development program. I see that more than 2,000 participants are there in this FDP program. It's a remarkable thing from an academic perspective. I congratulate Professor Rajan Gurukkal for having come forward to collaborate with Nirmala College IQSC team for organizing this wonderful academic activity and for enabling the faculty members to enhance their OB level. As Professor Rajan Gurukkal and Professor Rajan Varghese and Professor Suresh Mony mentioned, there's a huge gap in quality. This quality gap should be overcome by resorting to outcome-based education, as all the eminent speakers have mentioned, and Professor Suresh Mony has rightly highlighted the need for student-centric approach and the need for teachers emerging as facilitators for the students so that they may come up with their own abilities and skills. They may come out of their own shells and they may come out of their own pupa stage and they may emerge and fly out like butterflies. Obviously, the faculty development program of this nature envisages knowledge updation, at the same time our quality upgradation as well, and our skills are to be enhanced, our competency levels are to be enhanced, about which Professor Suresh Mony has elaborately discussed. Nirmala College, which has bagged double plus and 3.73 grade at the NAC accreditation, is proudly hosting this academic program. I congratulate Dr. 𝐬𝐞𝐞𝐤 𝐍𝐢𝐫𝐚𝐥 for taking up the lead in organizing this program. Only one thing I would like to say, around 35% of the students of Central Kerala, they are moving out to Canada, to Australia, to Germany, Ireland, England, in search of quality education. Only 65% of students are remaining in many of the enclaves of Kerala. That would mean the educational hubs are being severely affected because of the mass flow of student community. And as Professor Suresh Mony mentioned, our institution should surpass the international standards of international academic institutes. We have to somehow fight against these migratory trends of our students. We have to improve our competency level. We have to enhance our skills level, and we have to make our institutions competent enough. And we have to provide the best quality education to our students on par with the international institutions. Here in JNU, we used to allow the students to transfer the credit from one institution to another. And probably such type of ideas and practices can be resorted to in many of the local institutions and in universities, so that students, wherever they are, they can attend any course and transfer credit. Professor Suresh Mony has also elaborated on it. The possibilities for credit transfer should also be there. The point that I would like to highlight is a college is not collectivity, or college or university is not collectivity of structures or buildings. They represent certain type of academic culture. They represent certain type of epistemological tradition. That would mean knowledge production should happen. As Professor Suresh Mony mentioned, the students should be made to become participants in the knowledge production process. And along with that, the teachers should take the lead, and they should organize the academic program in such a way that every institution has got a long trajectory of knowledge production. And this produced knowledge should reach out to the larger public. Whatever be the area that each teacher is academically competent enough, there should be some effort to produce something new. If we don't produce something new, if you don't produce competent type of epistemological if you don't involve in epistemological activities that would attract students, then there would be a big challenge to the institutions that we are representing. There's a great amount of decadence that is happening. There's a great amount of decline and dwindling that we see in the academic scenario that has to be overcome, and collective effort should be there from the part of all the teachers. I am so glad that more than 2,000 teachers are participating in academic exercise of this nature, where they're trying to improve their academic skills and abilities, as well as upgrading their outcome-based educational practices. This learning management system should be improved, as Professor Rajan Varghese and Professor Rajan Gurukkal mentioned. So I wish all the best for this faculty development program. We all look forward to wonderful outcome to happen from this faculty development program. And we are quite sure that Professor Mendus Jacob, an eminent trainer in this field, he would be able to guide the teachers in the right direction, and he would be able to reorient our thinking, reorient our activities, and reorient our attitudes as well with regard to the way how we should approach the students, how we should approach the very teaching and learning exercises. So with these words and with the good wishes for the faculty development program, and congratulating the team, particularly Professor Sony and Professor Thomas and all the team have been working day and night all these days to make this great event, and wishing all the best for all the participants. I remain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend, for the manager's address. Now we will move on to the introductory speech. The introductory speech will be delivered by Dr. Mendus Jacob. Dr. Mendus Jacob is an academician and entrepreneur with 30+ years of experience, and is the professor and director MCA program at Marine College Kutikano Autonomous, and the former director of School of Applicable Mathematics, MG University. He is also the CEO of IPSR Solutions Limited, an IT company supporting higher education institutions in the implementation of outcome-based education and innovating teaching, learning, and assessment strategies. Over to you, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, audible.
Respected Dr. Rajan Gurukkal, the Vice Chairman of Kerala State Higher Education Council, Dr. Rajan Varghese, the Member Secretary of KSHEC, our guest of the day, Dr. Suresh Mony, Reverend Father Pius Malekandathil, the Manager of Nirmala College, Dr. Thomas KV, the Principal of Nirmala College, Professor Emmanuel, the Vice Principal, the Father Barsar, Dr. Sony Kuriakos, the IQC Coordinator, and distinguished delegates my faculty colleagues from different institutions of India. And we have a special guest today, Dr. Jayashankar. He's the former Vice Chancellor of Kanji University and an academician having around 50 years of experience. He's a mentor of many important universities like VIT and other higher education institutions. And also he's a mentor of Marine College Kuttikanam. When we have gone for a NAC accreditation, he was our guide and mentor. And we got a A++ with a high score of 3.71 with his guidance and mentorship. He's also a personal mentor to me for the last 30 years. I was gaining a lot of things. I was getting a lot of ideas and through his interactions and all. He was about to take a session today because of some personal inconvenience. He could not commit it earlier. Sir, do you wish to have a small message to the participants? You are not audible, I think. You are on mute.
Yeah, you finish your presentation, sir. I will come there.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you. So I'm here to give an introduction about the flow of this FDP. Actually, we will have the sections from tomorrow onwards. As mentioned earlier, we have around 2,000 participants registered for this event. But as Dr. Rajan Gurukkal mentioned, we will have a blended model. We have live sections every day. But even if some of the faculty members are missing out these live sessions, we have the learning management system to support them. We have all the recorded videos available in the learning management system. I think a lot of doubts regarding LMS was posted in the chat box. I will clear all the doubts. And our resource persons, all of them are well experienced not only in the academics, they are also experienced in the industry sector and the consultancy level. And as you know, people from industry have more idea about the skills acquired by the students because of they are conducting interviews regularly. So I hope these inputs from the industry will definitely help us. And the learning management system provided to the participants is also an example of how the online platforms can be effectively used for a proper OBE implementation. We have utilized the features like a workshop, which is used for learning and assessment, lesson activity in Moodle where assured learning and assessment is happening. And there are forums for collaboration. Also, other tools like Mentimeter, Padlet, etc. are also incorporated to get an idea for the participants. As everybody knows, OBE is a paradigm shift from teaching to learning. And Moodle is one of the best platforms where we can implement some of the OBE features. Repetitive tasks can be automated and faculty can concentrate more on developing innovative teaching, learning, and other activities. Kerala State Higher Education Council is encouraging the higher education institutions in the implementation of online education through platforms like Moodle. We had a lot of training sessions previously in the LMS, how to use LMS and even customization of Moodle. Higher Education Council is also extending full support for this faculty development program. And I take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to Gurukkal sir and Rajan Varghese sir for their valuable presence and encouragement. And I will share the screen so that I will just introduce how the LMS will function so that those participants who are registered for the learning management system, they can get an idea how it will work like this. I hope you can see my screen. It's visible now?
Screen is visible, sir.
Yeah. So we have this Moodle LMS. We have some announcements. You can go here and we'll get some important notifications or announcements there. And there is a doubt clearance forum where you can post your doubts. Again, there is a research forum for innovative learning and assessment methods. You can post your ideas there so that you can collaborate. The other faculty members can comment on it, or they can also post some innovative ideas there. And today is day one. We will get the recorded video of day one, maybe tomorrow morning. Then we have day two. Tomorrow we have a section on Bloom's taxonomy. And there are some tasks and assignments provided in the LMS. There is no separate attendance. When you do the task and assignments in the LMS, that will be considered as an attendance. So there is an SOP, like there is a standard operating procedure for every activity. It is mentioned there. So just you can go through that SOP and you can understand how the task can be performed. Otherwise, also the resource persons who will be handling the sessions, they will introduce the task, and there will be other tasks also. Like there is a question paper analysis that is tomorrow's task. After the session, you can do that, do all these tasks and assignments. And this LMS access will be there up to 25th of this May, this month. So don't worry about it. You'll get enough time to do the task and assignments. You'll get all the recorded videos here. And there are some Padlets available so that you can post your questions based on the Bloom's taxonomy levels. And also here you can collaborate with other faculty fellows. Like, there will be questions on different taxonomy levels. You can comment on that and you can post your questions so that others will comment on it. So a collaborative learning will happen through this learning management system. Again, we have the third day, we have sections on OB, the architecture of OB and all. There is a workshop activity. Again, there will be an SOP provided for this workshop activity so that you can go through that SOP and you can understand how the task can be performed. Again, we have a Padlet where you can post your course outcomes. And again, the other faculty members can comment on it. Again, this is for collaborative learning. So every day it will be like that. You will have the recorded videos and tasks and assignments, everything in the LMS. And the feedback also will be, you can provide the feedback again in the LMS. There will be a link for feedback for every day. And finally, you'll have a lot of reference materials. Lot of reference materials are available. There are recorded videos of the previous sessions. We are conducting at least one faculty development program every month. So we'll get the recordings of previous sessions and also some other useful education tools. So all these resources are available in the LMS and which will be accessible from tomorrow onwards. So if you can check your mail or even you can check your spam mail for if you could not find the login details of the LMS. So this is about LMS. So don't worry about it. We'll be having a team supporting you for doing all the tasks and assignments. You can contact them at any time. So in between, if you have any doubt, the numbers are already shared in the chat box. You can send a message or you can call them for further guidance. So this is about the learning management system. We have 7 days. So from tomorrow onwards, we will have the technical sessions. And by next Wednesday, we will wind up the FDP. And after that, one more week, you will get access for the LMS so that you can complete all the tasks and assignments. And in between, if you miss any of the sessions, definitely the recorded videos are available there. So that's about the total, the flow of the program. So I wish that all the participants should benefit from these sessions. And I thank the Kerala Higher Education Council, especially Dr. Rajan Gurukkal and Dr. Rajan Varghese, the principal and manager, the other faculty members of Nirmala College, and our special guests of today, Dr. Suresh, Mony, and Dr. Jayashankar. Thank you very much for motivating us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mendus sir. Thank you for that introduction to the LMS as well.
Sijin, I think Jayashankar sir, if you want to speak something.
Yeah, okay.
It just take a couple of minutes. It is sheer inspiration on the part of Kerala Higher Education Council and Nirmala College and the team headed by Mendus Jacob to have organized this faculty development program. As Suresh Mony rightly pointed out, we travel all over the country, interact with many of the great institutions, but the kind of OBE understanding of the Kerala colleges is very deep. And the commitment with which Kerala colleges are doing OBE and its implementation, much to be appreciated. Even in big cities like Bombay and Calcutta, I don't see the colleges to have a deep understanding of the OBE concept the way Kerala has come forward to implement. So I must warmly congratulate the Kerala colleges and the Kerala government for taking this initiative to spread your knowledge of OBE throughout the country. The very fact that 2,000 faculty have registered for this is a very, very remarkable achievement on the part of this initiative taken by the Kerala Council and the Nirmala College and Mendus Jacob and the team to spread your knowledge across the country. That has to be warmly appreciated. In addition to what Suresh Mony has said, if you want to improve quality, there are only 2 mantras which I used to suggest. He talked about Deming 14 mantras, and there is also Parasuraman's 5 cervical quality in service. You know, there are 5 standards with Parasuram, the Indian management guru, has developed in service of quality. My mantra is be allergic to mediocrity. Whoever does a mediocre job, you must tell them there's a better way of doing things than what you're doing now. Second mantra is be positively dissatisfied with the status quo. You may have 3.8, you may have 3.57 as your NAC score, but still there's always a scope for improvement. Don't be complacent. You must keep on raising the bar. As Suresh Mony said, don't wait for accreditation bodies to raise the bar. You raise your own bar. You ask the question whether I am doing a better job today than what I was doing yesterday. Whether I am planning to do a better job tomorrow than what I am doing today. If you keep on raising the bar, I think sky is the limit. All the regulatory bodies and accreditation agencies cannot give you the best standard because they can give only minimal standards. I've been in most of these bodies. The problem is India is a huge country with diverse standards. You cannot give the best standards from the regulatory bodies or accreditation bodies. So they will give only minimal standards. Every institution must create a benchmark which is much better than what the regulatory bodies are suggesting or what accreditation bodies are suggesting. Look at some of the international standards. Try to match your performance with the international institution and you must be able to raise the bar. As Suresh Mony rightly said, during the Vedic era, thousands of people across the globe, they lined up to come to India to learn the subjects. Today, there is a fleet of students going out of our country to many Western universities to pick up knowledge. I think this has to be reversed. As a professor in the Nirmala College rightly said, 35% of the students in Kerala, they are going out to Canada. This is a cause for concern. If you create the quality, I think most of the Canadian students must come to Kerala and must learn from the Kerala institution. That is immensely possible. We'll have to look at our own processes, procedures, and the way we do things. Sky is the limit. I think education and healthcare, India is one of the top in the world. Take doctors and teachers. Some of the top deans in many of the top universities, they're all Indians. Top surgeons across the globe, they are Indians. So we have standards. So if only we can harness all the qualities that is available in our Indian institution, then we will be able to pose a challenge to many of the Western universities and reverse this trend. We will not allow our Indian students to go abroad. We will be able to get foreign students in our campuses so that we will be able to offer the best of the education across the globe and then revive that Vedic era period of providing high standards in quality of higher education. Thanks for the opportunity. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Jayashankar sir, for your insights as well. Now we will move on to the last session. That's word of thanks. Word of thanks will be given by Dr. Sony Kuriakose, IQAC coordinator, Nirmala College. Dr. Sony Kuriakose is the IQAC coordinator of Nirmala College, Muvattupuzha, Kerala. He holds a doctoral degree in the field of strategic financial management. He has done his PhD under the prestigious Research and Teaching Assistantship Scheme of Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India. He has authored 4 books and more than 10 research papers in UGC care-listed corpus index journals. He has also been serving as an external expert in the governing body of many autonomous and affiliated colleges in the country. Over to you, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Respected Dr. Rajan Gurukkal, Vice Chairman of Kerala State Higher Education Council, Dr. Rajan Varghese, the President of this function and the Member Secretary of Kerala State Higher Education Council, our Manager, Reverend Dr. Msgr Pius Malekandathil, Dr. Suresh Mony, Keynote Speaker of today's inaugural ceremony, Dr. N. Jayasankaran, very famous management and mathematics expert, and also mentored to many top-rated academic institutions in the country. Dr.Mendus Jacob, the key resource person of today, this faculty development program. Professor Dr. Thomas KV, Principal of Nirmala College. Professor Emmanuel AJ, Vice Principal of Nirmala College. Reverend Dr. Justin Kannadan, Bursar of Nirmala College, and esteemed delegates of this particular faculty development program. So before moving to my official duty, I would like to highlight one thing. This is the third faculty development program which has been organized by the Nirmala College, Muvattupuzha. It's the IQACF Nirmala College. So when we fixed our the FDP calendar, in fact, this program was not in our calendar. Our first program was curriculum development under NEP, which was sponsored by NAC. Then we organized a program on mother tongue and reimagination of the nation. Both are related to NEP theme. And we know that almost all the Indian states have implemented NEP-based curriculum, and some states are in the process of implementing the NEP-based curriculum. So when our IQAC team reviewed the curriculum of major universities, especially the top-rated universities like Delhi University and all, in the curriculum we could see two components. One is, as Suresh Mony sir said, student learning and pedagogy, and the second one is student learning assessment. So in both the components, it is written that 80% of the assessment should be based on higher order skills like apply, analyze, create, and evaluate. Only 20% weightage should be given to remember and understand. I mean, the basic levels of Bloom's taxonomy. In the assessment part, it is given, and also in the student andragogy portion, it is given. So it means that the question papers will be based on higher order skills level. So this has motivated the IQAC team of Nirmala College to come up with a hands-on training on OBE. Because we believe that the teacher should have a applied knowledge with regarding to OBE. So with this, let me move on to my duty. Dr. Rajan Gurukkal, he's the Vice Chairman of Kerala State Higher Education Council. So we all know that he's the main pillar behind the implementation of Kerala State Higher Education Empowerment Plan. And I think that plan has been extended to 2023-24 academic year also. And we know that Kerala has been fast approaching the NEP targets given by the Ministry of Education. For example, the GER of our the GER target fixed by the NEP is 50% by 2035. So now Kerala's GER stands at 43.5. So before 5 years, it was 32. So the incremental growth is 10.8. So that means under the able guidance of Rajan Gurukkal sir, Kerala is fast approaching the targets, and there has been significant improvement in all the qualitative and the qualitative indicators. So I would like to thank Rajan Gurukkal sir for his presence in this particular faculty development program. Thank you, sir. We have been trying to collaborate with the Kerala State Higher Education Council for a long time, and this time we could do it because of the very fast, the sanctioning process of the member secretary, Dr. Rajan Varghese sir. We are thankful to Dr. Rajan Varghese sir. Thank you, sir. And today's keynote session was very inspirational, and it was very knowledgeable. So during Suresh Mony sir was taking the class, I was getting a lot of messages from different parts of the country to get his number, because the session was so informative, and it was motivated all the faculty members who are attending this particular faculty development program. He has linked the TQM philosophy with outcome-based education, and I got so many messages. Do you have the recordings of the sessions like that? Can I get the screenshot of the last slide he has shown? So that simply means that it was very informative to the and inspirational to all the participants who are attending this faculty development program. Thank you, Suresh Mony sir, for your valuable presence and very inspirational and a knowledgeable session. Thank you, sir. And I also would like to thank Dr. N. Jaishankaran sir for his valuable presence in this particular faculty inaugural ceremony. We know that he's a top-rated mathematician and management educator. He's mentored to so many reputed institutions in the country, and though it was short, he shared his views on self-improvement. Thank you, Dr. N. Jaishankaran sir, for your valuable presence in this meeting. I take this opportunity to thank our principal, Dr. Thomas KV. It is his timely aids and ideas that added colors to the success of this FDP. I thank you, Thomas sir. Professor Emmanuel 𝐬𝐽𝐬 had been a guiding force throughout the preparations of the FDP. Thank you, Professor Emmanuel 𝐬𝐽𝐬. I would like to thank Dr.Mendus Jacob and the IPSR team who have done a meticulous job in coordinating the event. Thank you, Mendus sir. I would like to thank Reverend Dr. Francis Kannadan. He's a main pillar of the main academic programs that are happening in our college. He's the real financial risk taker of all our events. He knows that rewarding initiatives are risky too. I would like to thank Reverend Dr. Francis Kannadan, sir. Our manager, Reverend Dr. Msgr Pius Malekandathil, he has been traveling to Delhi. So in his busy schedule also, he could find time to attend this program to enrich the participants, and he showed his concern and love for Nirmala College. I would like to describe him as a man of action with vision. I would like to thank our manager for his valuable presence in this particular program. And I also would like to thank my IQAC team. Without them, this FDP would not have reached this end. They have been perfectly discharging their duties with incredible power and patience. Thank you, the IQAC team of Nirmala College. My heart goes out with gratitude to all participants who have shown interest in this venture. We know that almost 2,000 participants are attending this program. I thank all of you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Sony Kuriakar.
Thank you. So, I'll just sign off. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for attending this sessions. Now, just a thing before I leave, we close off for today. Many people who have paid up for the LMS. Please note that you will get the LMS links or the emails by tomorrow. So don't worry about it. We will guide you through it by tomorrow also. So tomorrow is when the sessions will actually start, where you have lesson activities to do. Okay, so that will be there tomorrow. So the people who are paid for who have registered for the LMS, please wait for the mails to reach you by tomorrow. Okay, and the recording of today's session, you will get it by tomorrow morning. Okay, so don't worry about it, and you will see all the slide presentations in that as well. Okay, so we will leave for today. Please make sure that you join by 7 p.m. sharp tomorrow, so that we can start off the spot on time, and we will have the sessions well finished in time, and we will have the classes done properly. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you again. Thank you all for joining us and taking your time to join the sessions. We will see you again for the next 6 days. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you all.